something that can hold us back from achieving our true potential, from living the life we've always dreamed of. That something is fear. Fear. It's a small word, isn't it? Just 4 letters. But its impact on our lives can be enormous. Fear has the power to shrink our world, to limit our choices, and to keep us trapped in a life that's too small for our dreams and aspirations. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. How many times have you hesitated to take action because of fear? How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because you were afraid to reach out and grab them? How many dreams have you put on hold because fear whispered in your ear, you're not good enough, you might fail, or it's too risky? You see, fear is like a prison. But here's the kicker. It's a prison of our own making. We are both the prisoners and the jailers. We hold the key to our freedom, but all too often we're too afraid to use it. But it doesn't have to be this way. You have the power to break free from the shackles of fear. You have the ability to step out of that self-imposed prison and into a world of endless possibilities. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I met a young woman named Sarah. Sarah was brilliant, talented, and had dreams of starting her own business. But every time she thought about taking the leap, fear would creep in. What if I fail, she'd ask herself. What if I lose everything? These fears kept her stuck in a job she hated, living a life that was far too small for her potential. One day, Sarah decided she'd had enough. She realized that her fear of failure was actually ensuring her failure, the failure to even try. So she took a deep breath, pushed past her fear, and started her business. Was it easy? No. Was it scary? Absolutely. But here's the thing, it was also exhilarating, fulfilling, and ultimately successful. Sarah's story is not unique. It's a story that plays out in millions of lives every single day. The only difference is in how it ends. For some, like Sarah, it ends with triumph over fear. For others, it ends with regret for the chances not taken, the dreams not pursued, the life not lived to its fullest. Which ending do you want for your story? Now, I'm not saying that fear is always bad. In fact, fear can be a useful emotion. It can keep us safe from genuine threats. The problem arises when we allow fear to overstep its bounds, when we let it dictate our choices and limit our potential. You see, there are 2 types of fear. The first is the fear that protects us from real danger, like the fear that stops us from walking into oncoming traffic. This fear is good. It keeps us alive. But the second type of fear, the one we're talking about today, is different. It's the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, the fear of stepping out of our comfort zone. This fear doesn't protect us, it paralyzes us. Think about it. How many of your fears have actually come true? How many times have you worried about something only to find that when you finally faced it, it wasn't nearly as bad as you'd imagined? More often than not, our fears are just that, imaginary. They're stories we tell ourselves, stories that hold us back from living the life we truly want. But here's the good news, just as we create these fears, we also have the power to overcome them. And that's what I want to focus on today. I want to give you the tools, the strategies, and the mindset you need to face your fears head on and step into a bigger, bolder, more fulfilling life. The first step in overcoming fear is to recognize it for what it is. Fear is not a fact. It's not reality. It's a feeling and emotion. And like all emotions, it can be managed and controlled. When you feel fear creeping in, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, is this fear based on reality, or is it just my imagination running wild? Often you'll find that your fears are exaggerated versions of reality. They're worst-case scenarios that are unlikely to happen. By recognizing this, you can start to separate fact from fiction, reality from imagination. This simple act of questioning your fears can often be enough to diminish their power over you. Next, I want you to reframe your perspective on fear. Instead of seeing fear as a stop sign, try to see it as a signpost. When you feel fear, it's often pointing you in the direction of growth. It's showing you where you need to go to expand your life, to step out of your comfort zone and into your zone of potential. Remember, growth and comfort do not coexist. If you want to grow, if you want to achieve more, if you want to live a bigger life, you must be willing to get uncomfortable. And that means facing your fears. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're afraid of public speaking. Every time you think about getting up on stage, your heart races, your palms sweat, and you feel like you might pass out. Now, you could let this fear stop you. You could avoid public speaking at all costs, shrinking your world to accommodate your fear. Or you could see this fear as a challenge, an opportunity for growth. You could recognize that by facing this fear, by learning to speak confidently in public, you could open up a whole new world of opportunities. You could advance in your career, share your ideas with a wider audience, and make a bigger impact in your field. Which option leads to a bigger life? Which option allows you to fully express your potential? The choice is clear, isn't it? But here's the thing, making that choice isn't always easy. It takes courage, it takes determination, and most importantly, it takes action. You see, the antidote to fear isn't courage, it's action. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the ability to act in spite of fear. And the more you act, the more your courage grows, and the smaller your fears become. So how do we take action in the face of fear? It starts with small steps. You don't have to conquer your biggest fear all at once. Start small. If public speaking terrifies you, don't start by giving a TED Talk. Start by speaking up more in meetings. Then maybe give a presentation to a small group of colleagues. Gradually work your way up to bigger audiences. Each small step you take builds your confidence and shrinks your fear. It's like building a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. And before you know it, you'll be doing things you never thought possible. But here's a crucial point: don't wait until you feel ready. If you wait until you feel completely confident and fear-free, you'll be waiting forever. The truth is, you'll never feel 100% ready. There will always be some level of fear or uncertainty. The key is to act anyway. Remember, action precedes motivation. You don't have to feel motivated to act. In fact, it's often the act of taking action that generates motivation. So don't wait for motivation to strike. Take action, and the motivation will follow. Now, I want to introduce you to a powerful tool for overcoming fear. It's called the What's the Worst That Could Happen exercise. Here's how it works. When you're faced with a fear, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I do this then? Write down all the possible negative outcomes you can think of. Be honest, but also be realistic. Next, for each of these worst-case scenarios, ask yourself 2 questions. How likely is this to actually happen? If it did happen, could I handle it? More often than not, you'll find that the worst-case scenario is either highly unlikely or, even if it did happen, something you could deal with. This exercise helps put your fears into perspective and often reveals that they're not as scary as they first appeared. Let's take our public speaking example again. What's the worst that could happen if you give that presentation? Maybe you'll forget what you wanted to say. Maybe your voice will shake. Maybe someone in the audience will disagree with you or ask a question you can't answer. Now, how likely are these things to happen? And if they did happen, could you handle it? You might stumble over your words, but you could recover. Your voice might shake, but you could take a deep breath and continue. Someone might disagree with you, but you could listen to their perspective and engage in a productive discussion. When you break it down like this, suddenly the fear of public speaking doesn't seem quite so overwhelming, does it? But overcoming fear isn't just about rational analysis, it's also about mindset. And one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make is to adopt a growth mindset. A growth mindset, as opposed to a fixed mindset, is the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. People with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to their competence. When you have a growth mindset, failure isn't something to be feared. Instead, it's seen as a natural part of the learning process. It's feedback, not a final judgment on your abilities. Think about it this way: every successful person you admire has failed, probably many times. The difference is they didn't let those failures stop them. They learned from them, adapted, and kept moving forward. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the essence of a growth mindset. It's about seeing setbacks as stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. When you adopt a growth mindset, Suddenly the world opens up. You're no longer limited by what you think you can or can't do right now. Instead, you're limited only by your willingness to learn, to grow, to persist in the face of challenges. And here's the beautiful thing about a growth mindset. It's not something you're born with. It's something you can cultivate. Every time you face a fear, every time you step out of your comfort zone, every time you persist in the face of difficulty, you're strengthening your growth mindset. Now, I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about overcoming fear and living a bigger life. Many people worry that pushing past their fears means they have to become someone they're not. They worry that living a bigger life means changing their personality or abandoning their values. But that's not what this is about at all. Overcoming fear and expanding your life isn't about becoming a different person. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's about removing the limitations that fear has placed on you so that you can express your true potential. Think about it like this: fear is like a filter that distorts your view of yourself and the world. It makes everything seem more dangerous, more difficult than it really is. When you remove that filter, you're not changing who you are. You're seeing yourself and your possibilities more clearly. Living a bigger life doesn't mean you have to become an extrovert if you're naturally introverted. It doesn't mean you have to become a risk taker if you're naturally cautious. It simply means allowing yourself to fully express who you are, to pursue your dreams and aspirations without letting fear hold you back. For an introvert, living a bigger life might mean finding ways to share your ideas that feel authentic to you, rather than forcing yourself into situations that drain you. For someone who's naturally cautious, it might mean learning to take calculated risks rather than reckless ones. The key is to align your actions with your values and your authentic self. When you do this, pushing past fear doesn't feel like you're forcing yourself to do something unnatural. Instead, it feels like you're finally allowing yourself to be who you truly are. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of overcoming fear support. We often think of facing our fears as a solitary battle, but it doesn't have to be, and in fact, it shouldn't be. Having a support system can make a world of difference when you're trying to overcome fear and expand your life. This could be friends, family, mentors, or even a professional coach. These are the people who believe in you, who encourage you, who pick you up when you fall, and who celebrate your successes with you. But it's not just about having cheerleaders. It's also about surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you to be better. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." So choose your company wisely. Seek out people who are living the kind of life you want to live, who are facing their fears and pursuing their dreams. Their courage and success can be contagious. When you see others overcoming their fears and achieving great things, it makes your own goals seem more attainable. And don't forget the power of giving support as well as receiving it. When you encourage others to face their fears and pursue their dreams, you're not just helping them, you're also reinforcing these attitudes and behaviors in yourself. Now, I want to address a fear that often comes up when we talk about living a bigger life, the fear of success. It might sound strange, after all, isn't success what we're aiming for? But fear of success is very real, and it can be just as limiting as fear of failure. Fear of success can manifest in many ways. You might worry about the increased responsibilities that come with success. You might fear that success will change you or alienate you from friends and family. Or you might subconsciously believe that you don't deserve success. These fears can cause you to self-sabotage, to pull back just when you're on the verge of a breakthrough. But here's the thing: success doesn't have to be scary. Like any change, it may bring challenges, but it also brings opportunities. Opportunities for growth, for making a bigger impact, for living a more fulfilling life. If you find yourself fearing success, try to reframe your perspective. Instead of focusing on what you might lose or what might go wrong, focus on what you stand to gain. Think about the positive impact you could have, the people you could help, the dreams you could realize. Remember, success isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. It's about fully expressing your potential and making the contribution you're capable of making. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a powerful visualization exercise. This is something you can use whenever you feel fear holding you back. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine two versions of yourself 5 years from now. In the first version, you've allowed fear to guide your decisions. You've stayed in your comfort zone, avoided risks, played it safe. What does your life look like? How do you feel? What opportunities have you missed? Now, imagine a second version of yourself 5 years from now. In this version, you faced your fears head on. You've taken risks, pursued your dreams, lived boldly. What does this life look like? How do you feel? What have you achieved? Which version of yourself do you want to be? The choice is yours. And you make that choice not once, but every day, with every decision you make. Will you let fear lead you to a life that's too small? Or will you have the courage to push past your fears and live the big, bold, beautiful life you're capable of living? Remember, the size of your life is directly proportional to the size of your courage. The more you're willing to face your fears, to step out of your comfort zone, to take risks in pursuit of your dreams, the bigger your life becomes. And here's the most exciting part as your life expands. As you achieve things you once thought impossible, your fears will shrink. What once seemed terrifying will become manageable. What once held you back will propel you forward. But it all starts with a decision to no longer let fear be the driving force in your life. A decision to face your fears, to take action despite them, to use them as fuel for growth rather than barriers to success. So I challenge you today to make that decision. Decide right now that you will no longer let fear lead you to a life that's too small. Decide that from this moment on, you will face your fears, pursue your dreams, and live the biggest, boldest, most fulfilling life possible. It won't always be easy. There will be challenges. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when fear creeps back in, and you'll be tempted to retreat to the safety of your comfort zone. But in those moments, remember this: on the other side of your fear is everything you've ever wanted. Your dreams, your goals, your ideal life, they're all waiting for you. But you have to be brave enough to push past your fears to reach them. You have to be willing to face uncertainty, to risk failure, to step into the unknown. And you can do it. I know you can. You have everything you need within you right now. You have the strength, the resilience, the courage. All you need to do is tap into it. So go forth from here today with a new resolve. Let today be the day you decide to live fearlessly. Let today be the day you commit to pursuing your dreams, to expanding your horizons, to living a life that's big enough for all your potential. Remember, life is not a dress rehearsal. This is not a practice run. This is your one and only life, and you owe it to yourself to live it to the fullest. Don't let fear rob you of the life you're capable of living. Don't let it lead you to a life that's too small. Instead, use your fear as a compass. Let it point you toward the areas where you need to grow, the challenges you need to face, the dreams you need to pursue. Embrace the discomfort, welcome the challenges, for they are the path to a bigger, bolder, more fulfilling life. And as you go forward, remember this: you are capable of so much more than you realize. Your potential is limitless. Your possibilities are endless. The only thing standing between you and the life of your dreams is fear. And fear, my friends, is conquerable. So go out there and conquer it. Face your fears. Take risks. Dream big. Live boldly. And watch as your life expands in ways you never thought possible.